Hello viewers, good to have you at this session today. We are looking at likely WAEC, NECO, GCE and of course PC questions on this subject, government. And I was just coming into the studio today. I had to do was PCE government, So let's see some of these questions, likely questions for these examinations. Sit up and come along with me. The ultimate source of power and authority which set the state apart from other forms of political organizations is referred to as, look at the word ultimate. The word ultimate means the major, the main, the fundamental, the basic. Constitutionalism, checks and balances, rule of law, sovereignty. The answer here is sovereignty. It is the sovereignty that distinguishes a state from other institutions in a society. Okay? Sovereignty of the states. Very well. Let's see the next one. Okay? The institution through which leaders exercise power to make and enforce laws is the government, the judiciary, the political party, the security agency. Government is the institution of the state. Remember, judiciary is an organ of government, right? Political party are seeking to form government. So the institution where laws are made and enforced is the government. A. All right? The next question. The fundamental principles by which a state is ordered and governed are usually outlined in a bill, a constitution, parliamentary proceedings, state manual. Of course, the correct answer is in the constitution. The constitution is the fundamental principles which guide a state, which order and govern how a state is to be ruled. The constitution. Okay? We see the next question. Which one among the following factors greatly restrains the government in a democratic society? Restrains the government. In other words, checkmates the government from just doing whatever they like. Consent of the governed, consent of the civil society organization, ideology of the party, parliamentary debates. Of course, civil society are part of the governed. The governed are the populace, the people. The people are the governed, that is, the ruled. Okay? And the civil society are part of the ruled. Okay? Very well. So the answer here is option A. Right? Particularly under a democratic system. Remember, democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and of course, for the people. Very well. The following factors are challenges faced by judiciary under the doctrines of separation of powers. Challenges here stand for problems, obstacles. All right? Problems, obstacles. Okay? Under separation of power. Remember, separation of power is a doctrine that was proposed by Baron de Montesquieu, all right? Saying that each organ of government, legislature, executive, and of course judiciary, should be separated in terms of personnel and of course function. Personnel and of course function. Okay, so let's see, coming down to the question, challenges. Remember, the word except means all the options are correct, only one is wrong. Okay, all options correct but one. Right? Appointment of judges, financial autonomy, removal of judges from office, poor legal infrastructure. Now, appointment and removal of judges is being handled by the executive, maybe approval of the legislature, and that is not confirmed proper separation. Anyway, that is part of separation of powers.
Get the cheapest science materials from allschoollabs.com.
Checks and balance in that case. Then when we have poor infrastructure, legislative, judiciary buildings, judiciary materials, and physical needs. All right. So the correct answer here is financial autonomy. Autonomy does not negate judiciary independence, rather strengthen judiciary in performing their duties. Okay? Financial autonomy. In other words, their remuneration and their allowances should not be controlled by the other organs of government, especially the executive, led by the president. No, it should not be controlled by such. It should be a money from the constituted account, which is the government account, paid direct to them. All right? That is a way of achieving judiciary independence. Very well. The next question. In the Oyo Empire, the Ariana Kakanfo resided outside the capital city in order to outside the capital city. Who is Ariana Kakanfo? Ariana Kakanfo is the head of the army in the Yoruba pre-colonial administration, the head of the army. All right? So by so doing, is to defend the territorial integrity of the society, the Yoruba society. Okay? So check foreign invasion, prevent him from overthrowing the king, exploit the possibility of territorial expansion, be effective over the ESO military. The answer is what? To check foreign invasion. He has to stay outside the city so that when the strangers or when invaders are coming, you'll be able to stop them before they get to the society, the community. Okay? Option A. The most popular form of government is, of course, everybody will say democracy. That is the most popular form of government at the moment. All right? Very well. Which of the following can be considered the father of Nigerian nationalism? The answer to this is Abat Macaulay. And why? Abat Macaulay was the man that formed the first ever political party in Nigeria. The first ever political party in Nigeria, known as NNDP in 1923. Okay? Abat Macaulay is more or less the mentor of Nnamdi Azikiwe. Remember, Azikiwe is seen as the great Zik of Africa. Also a very strong nationalist, okay? Because when this party was formed, while he was the president, Azikiwe was the secretary of that political party. Even when they went ahead to form another one in NCNC in 1944, they were still together. And eventually, when he passed on, I think 1946 or 48 thereabout, Zik eventually became the president of the NCNC. So, Azikiwe, of course, Abat Macaulay, of course, is the father of Nigerian nationalism. Okay? The payment of tax for citizens as and when due is a duty and obligation. When you enjoy your rights, it is also a responsibility on you as a citizen of the country to what? To pay your tax. So payment of tax is an obligation, it's a duty that every citizen that is working is expected to pay. After, of course, after your right must have been guaranteed by the government. Okay? So option B is the correct answer. It's a duty. The next question, collective responsibility is a feature of the federal presidential parliamentary confederal system of government. We have discussed this in one of our videos earlier. Please, you can check up on that system of government. We discussed these two responsibilities. We have what we call individual responsibility and we have what we call collective responsibility. This responsibility has to do with what? The cabinet members. And who are the cabinet members? They are ministers. Okay? And if you check up that video, it was explained while we were discussing system of government, it was explained that in a presidential system of government, the ministers have what they call individual responsibility, while they are appointed by Mr. President and they are responsible to the president for their portfolios. So each one of them will be blamed or praised for the good or the bad they've done in that office. All right? But the parliamentary system of government, which is also known as cabinet system of government, we have what they call collective responsibility, whereby if a minister fails, all the ministers has failed. Excuse me. And that's when they are removed from office to what they call vote of no confidence. Vote of no confidence. So the answer to this question in the collective responsibility is parliamentary system of government. All right? And we'll look at the next one. Apart from globalization, what other factor to a large extent affects the sovereignty of states? Factor that affects sovereignty of the states. Apart from this, of course, globalization affects it. We have right of franchise, system of government, international laws, inalienability. The answer is what? International laws. As long as you're a member of an international organization like Commonwealth of Nations, like United Nations, and African Union, you are liable, because you signed to the treaty of forming this organization, you are liable to be influenced or affected by the decisions of these international organizations, international laws. The next question. A public declaration of policy and aims, especially one issued before an election by a political party or candidate, is commonly called what? Manifesto. Manifesto, option D, is the agenda or the program of a political party, what they are planning to do, what they aim to do when they eventually get to government. Manifesto, political manifesto, program, agenda. The media, commonly referred to as the fourth estate of the realm. Fourth to who? Fourth to the three organs of government. Fourth to the three organs of government: legislature, executive, and of course judiciary. Okay? They monitor the activity of government on behalf of who? The people, the executive, the civil society, the media organization, of course, of the people, because they report to the people. They explain to be what? Responsible press. All right? Very well. The next question. Bicameral legislature contributes to the democratic process by, what is bicameralism? It means by two chambers or two houses for lawmaking. Two chambers or two houses for lawmaking. The opposite is what? Unicameral, where you have one house or one chamber. Okay, so when you have bicameralism, what does it contribute to democracy? What advantage do we get of bicameral legislature? Recommending the use of force on policy, there's nothing like that. Suppressing minority, how can you suppress minority? Imposing program, can you impose? In democracy, we don't. All right? But widening the scope of political participation. Once you have bicameralism, we have two chambers, two houses for more representations of the people. So you expand the scope of representation of the people. So more people are participating in policy. Though it's expensive though anyway. Okay? So the correct answer here is option D. Okay? Let's move on. Maintenance of law and order in a state is the function of the executive arm of government. You know, because laws are made by the legislature, legislative arm of government, and the executive enforce this law, while judiciary do what? Interpret the law. So option B is the correct answer. Okay? A government performs the following functions except safeguarding life and property. This is a major function of the government. Yes. Maintaining law and order. That's the executive doing that. Okay, we just answered that question in the previous question, number 15. Providing all the needs of the citizen, providing basic welfare needs. This is all about understanding of grammar. It's not possible for government to provide all the needs of the citizen, but the basic needs of the citizen. So of course, this is off the option to be correct. So all of those are correct. C is not correct. So C is the answer. A political system in which the government controls every aspect of the citizen's life. Control every aspect. Feudalism, monarchy. What is feudalism? The word feudal means land. So feudalism is talking about a system that believes in ownership of land. It's an ancient system, okay? Policy. The monarchy is where we have a king or a queen ruling a state, a society. While democracy, of course, government of the majority. While totalitarianism is the real answer to this. where the government controls every aspect of human life, from the word total to totalitarianism. Okay? So option D, of course, is the answer. The next question. A political system in which the state owns and controls a major means of production. Major means the state control. What is the state? Another word for the state is the public or the government. The public or the government. Are you with me? Very well. So feudalism, socialism. Feudalism, I just told you, ownership of land. Socialism, which is the answer here. Okay. While fascism is an ideology where the leader is said to be above the law. The leader is above the law. It was introduced by Benito Mussolini, Italy, 1922. Okay? Capitalism is the opposite of socialism. Instead of states, public government controlling capitalism, we have what? Private controlling. Private controlling. So the correct answer to this question is option B. Alright? Communist governments aim at distributing goods and services according to.
Run quick tests and analysis. Visit analysis.africa.
If I've gone through communism, when Karl Marx was discussing the mode of production, where he said we start from communalism to feudalism, from feudalism to capitalism, and from capitalism to socialism, and socialism to what? Communism, which is the last stage of the process of mode of production. Okay? In a communist government, it is the philosophy that guides communist government is that they give to each according to his needs and they take from each according to his ability. In that situation, no rich and there is no poor. Given to each according to his need and taken from all, each according to his capacity or ability. Option C, of course, is the correct answer. We go to the next question. The theory of separation of power is I mentioned that earlier, I think in question 2 or question 3, okay, today. So that's Baron de Montesquieu. Of course, if is talking about rule of law, I think Boudin talk about is the constitution of what I'm talking about. Anyway, so the correct answer is what? Baron de Montesquieu. Option B, the French philosopher. All right? Constitutionalism emphasizes that those who govern the state should do so according to constitutionalism. Constitutionalism is talking about the obedience and adherence, to the spirit and the letter of the Constitution, doing what the Constitution states. All right? So, in other words, do so according to laid down rules of public order. Option A is the correct answer. All right? Which is not a type of citizenship: confinement, indigenous, marriage, naturalization, restoration. Of course, indigenous. Indigenous is not a form of citizenship. Okay? All others are forms of citizenship, but not indigenous. All right? Direct democracy succeeded in Athens. Athens is in Greek, where democracy originated from, where the stuff succeeded at that place. Civil servants were properly trained, no. Institution of government was well, no. Population was small, yes. The people were united, not really necessary, so they made use of professional, no. The answer is that the population is small. But why we couldn't operate democracy again is because of the sheer size of population now. Because the Athenians, they used to gather in one place to make decisions concerning their society. You can imagine 250 million or 300 million people gather in one place to make decisions. So since we couldn't do that again, we have to refer to what? Indirect democracy, also known as what? Representative democracy. Okay? Very well. The next question. An instrument for exercise of power for controlling, administering, and managing the affairs of people based on laws is civil service, executive, government, judiciary. If you notice, civil service is in government, executive is in government, judiciary is in government. So what do you think should be the answer? Option C is the correct answer. Okay? How many delegates from Nigeria and Cameroon attended the London Constitutional Conference of 1953? They were 19. Option C. This conference was inconclusive, right? And they concluded it in 1954 at Lagos, the conference. The conference was chaired
Get the cheapest science materials from allschoollabs.com.
by this man called Oliver Littington, who eventually became the colonial governor of Nigeria. Alright? Very well. And it was the outcome of this conference and that of Lagos 1954 that led to the Littington Constitution of 1954 that conferred federalism on Nigeria. Today we call Nigeria Federal System of Government or Federal Republic of Nigeria. It started from that recommendation of that conference and the constitution that follows. So number 19, option C. Okay? Very well. Which territories in British West Africa did the colonial government exercise limited jurisdiction, limited control, limited management? Conquer states, mandated territory, protectorates, strong territories. These are protectorates. For instance, the Northern Protectorate of Nigeria, the Northern Protectorate of Nigeria. Alright? They have limited control. They were allowed the traditional rulers to continue ruling the people while they just give directives to traditional rulers. Okay? So they are limited control, not total control compared to conquer states or compared to the crown colony of Lagos, and of course the conquer area in the Southern Protectorates. Alright? Where they have unlimited control because they stay there and they control the activities of those places. Okay? The next question. One of the French West African colonies was the first to gain independence, which was the Benin, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Togo. It is Guinea. It was Guinea. I can't forget Guinea because of this man called Secretary. Secretary at the conference, attending the conference that happened for the 6th, was one that voted no for the continuous domination of French territory. So the answer is Guinea. Secretary cannot be forgotten in the history of French colonialism in West Africa. Secretary. So Guinea became the first West African French territory to get independent, while Ghana was the first in British before Nigeria. Then Ghana was 7th. I think Guinea was 6th, thereabouts. After the Conference of 47 and the Local Principle of 6 by French government. Right? The struggle by the chiefs and people of West Africa against political, social, and economic domination by European powers was referred to as imperialism, nationalism, colonial liberation. We need to understand this concept. When I say imperialism, imperialism is a kind of extension of colonialism. It's the extension of colonialism. Alright? In other words, after colonialism, the colonial masters are still directly manipulating or controlling the affairs of their former colonies. And that's what's happening to many African countries. The umbilical cord between Nigeria, for instance, and Britain has not been cut, has not been removed. We are still more or less looking up to them for everything. All our imports, all our relationship, everything is from them. Alright? That's why so our national leaders also do medical trip, even to all those countries. But that's imperialism. They still control us economically wise, technologically wise, and otherwise. But nationalism is a struggle to stop political and social control and economic domination. That's what I call nationalism. So option B is the correct answer. Okay? Is the correct answer. Neocolonialism is like a pseudo-nation. Neocolonialism is after colonialism, which is similar to imperialism. Alright? Also similar to colonialism. Okay? So, but the answer for this question is option B, nationalism. The European imperialist penetration into West Africa was primarily motivated by the following extent. All these were the reasons why they came, only one. All were the reasons why they came, only one. That is not a reason. Okay? So let's see which of them. Which of them is not a reason for coming? Compassion, did they really like us? No. Economic reason? Yes. Social reason? Yes. Military reason? Yes. Conquest, they want to conquer territories. So they can make boasts that have territories in other continents, okay? But not for compassion in the first place. So option A is the correct answer for this question, okay? Very well. Then the next one, which policy made the colonized French West African partners with France in a colonial project. Assimilation, association, indirect rule, long-term. Indirect rule is similar to that, is related to British colonial administration. Okay, so it cannot be this. Assimilation was the first one the French colonies started with, that the West African colonies rejected it, and they changed to what? Association, which is more liberal and more cooperating with them. Okay, and so that's association policy. Option B is the correct answer. Okay, let's see the next question. Administrative head of public corporation is known as the Director General, General Manager, Head of Department, Minister, Permanent Secretary. Looking at this question, there are two, what? Head of public, we need to understand something here. There's a difference between public corporation and civil service. Okay? There's a big distinction between public corporation and civil service. The civil service is an agency of the executive, a department in the executive that have the executive organ of government to perform their duty. While public corporations are government businesses. Okay? So they both have what they call administrative head and political head. They both have what? Administrative head and of course political head. They both have administrative head and of course political head. So here we're talking about administrative head for public corporation. The administrative head for public corporation is the managing director, MD. While the administrative head for civil service is the Director General, which in Nigeria is also known as what? PAMSEC, Permanent Secretary. Alright? While the political head for public corporation is the board of directors. Okay? While the political head for civil service is what? The minister. So you can see. So looking at this now, having Director General, which is the same thing as what? PAMSEC in Nigeria. DG is the same thing as what? PAMSEC in the civil service. This A and E is applicable to the civil service and not to the public corporation. Public corporation is a business of government, while civil service is an agency of government, department, executive arm of government. So, the correct answer here, if you are looking at it, is the general manager, which is supposed to be what? The managing director. The managing director. So, we pick general manager here, or the managing director. Option B is the correct answer. Let's go on quickly. A typical example of a pressure group in Nigeria is the Federal Complaint Commission, that is PCC, Public Complaint Commission, also known as what? Ombudsman. Ombudsman. So this is not a pressure group, this is an agency of government that listens to the complaints of the people as regards the actions or inactions of the civil servant, government workers. Progressive Action Congress, police being political party, not pressure group. Progressive People Alliance, political party also. Movement for Democracy and Justice, yes. Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, this is a religious group, alright? But this is a pressure group. What? Supreme Council will also be a religious group, basically religious, also be a pressure group, basically religion. But Movement for Democracy and Justice, I think this also could be a pressure group, also be what do you call them? The civil society organization. I think this should be a civil society organization. This one, civil society organization. While Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs is a pressure group. So let's pick option E. Option E as our correct answer. Option E as our correct answer because this is for religious purposes. The Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, they are the one that speak concerning the Islam, their own religion, defend their religion, and influence government decision when it comes to their group. Which of the following world organization preceded it? Before the establishment of the United Nations Organization, we have what they call the League of Nations. I think the League of Nations was established after the First World War. The First World War was 1914, excuse me, to 1918. So I think the League of Nations was formed between 18 and 1919 as the first international organization to prevent future occurrence of war. But unfortunately, the League of Nations did not live up to expectation because there was another war, Second World War, that broke out in 1939 and lasted to 1946. 45, sorry, which gave back to what? The birth of the United Nations in 1945, June, but became effective in October 24. Okay, very well. So League of Nations existed before the United Nations. The next question. One of these is not a purpose for the establishment of public corporation. We established earlier that public corporation means what? Government businesses. Government businesses. So which of these is not a reason why government own or establish business? Capital involvement. A huge capital is needed to start public corporation that individual may not be able to raise. Compete with private. Government is not interested in competition with private. No. Okay? Economic growth. Yes, government wants the economy to grow and involve itself in this kind of business to reduce the cost that ordinary individual may not be able to bear, and also to reduce the cost of those products that this corporation may be producing. Okay? Then security reasons. For security reasons, so that foreigners or private persons will not be controlling security agencies or businesses that are around the security of the country and whatsoever. Okay? So I think the correct option here is they are not competing with private. Government is not there to compete. The essence of this is to provide essential services to the people. The reason for government going to business is to provide essential services. Render essential services to the people. That's the business. Not even to make profit. The profit come all well and good, but to render essential services. Okay? Very well. The next question. For an alien, who is an alien? A foreigner. For a foreigner to become a citizen of the country, the person must have lived in an area for a long period of time, ranging from 15 to 20 years. You must have stayed 15 to 20 years for you to be liable to be, particularly I'm talking in perspective of Nigeria. The Nigerian constitution must have stayed in Nigeria for 15 years and above for you to apply for citizenship, naturalization or registration. Okay? A pressure group which result to violence, that should be mob. The mob pressure group. As a means of pressing home is demand is what? Anemic. Labor most of the time what they do, the dialogue, and when the dialogue fails, they do what? They go what to call strike. They go on strike. Okay? So it's an anemic pressure group. They are related to what? To violence. They lead to mob and then they create violence. Right? Price control is necessary for a state, particularly in the area of the economy, the Auditor General report, state security and security. Price control is necessary when it comes to state security and secret. There are some confidential materials, documents, articles that should not be discussed in the open relating to government. So because of this secret or security, then the press is being controlled from having access to such. All right? The next question. The media helps to enrich discourse on national issues through its marketing, editorial comments, because the answer here is editorial. Every newspaper agency, they have what they call editorial comment on a daily basis. All right? The editorial comment look at issues and they do a holistic analysis of that issue. It's an issue about tax or any government policy that has to affect people, the implication, the consequences, the effects. All right? So that's why I say most of the intelligent people, when you pick a newspaper, you don't just enjoy the headlines. You go straight to the editorial comment where the editor of that newspaper house will estray a particular topic as it relates to that particular society. Editorial comment. Right? The next one, information dissemination and communication in the political environment have been made faster and easier with the advent of course, social media. Option D is the correct answer. Okay, gentlemen, the passing of laws by an arm of government to regulate society is a function of anything that may talk about passing law, making law, enacting law is a function of what the legislation also see. I hope you have enjoyed this class today. Please subscribe to this channel and also share the link with your friends so that they also do enjoy what you're enjoying. Okay, see you in our next session. Thank you.
Hi, I'm sure you enjoyed the video you just watched. To see more content as that, preparing you for your upcoming exam, make sure to smash the subscribe button and turn on notification. Also, remember that you can use the comment section to send us your questions or your inquiries, and we are happy to take them. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.